Kirby Smart and Georgia, what you think now? And what did you think this time last week? Has it changed? If you're a Georgia fan, has it changed? If you're a Wichita State fan and you don't know if you guys have a football program, but you watch Georgia football, do you care? And has it changed, your opinion? A lot of people's opinion has changed right now. This is not a message, to be clear, to all Georgia fans. It sounds like I'm going to get a little aggressive here, but I'm not. Well, I am. I'm just not directing it at all of you. And Colin, to be clear, you know what? We'll just go with it. The Georgia fan base right now is in a very, very tough spot. I call it the Kirby Smart conundrum. You're looking at this team, if you're watching on YouTube right now, in Crimson, and you keep running into them and you keep falling down, and this year you're favored against them and you keep falling backwards. And so, what are you supposed to think? On one hand, you know the level you recruit at, you know the level you're invested in, and so you expect maximum return on that investment. I understand all that. I've told you before, I have no problem with that. But you don't get it until you beat that team, and you keep not beating that team. And so you're aggravated, and I understand, nor do I have any problem. I don't have any issue with that, but I got an email the other day. Maybe it was a DM. And it said, paraphrasing here, at what point does Josh Brooks have to start having a serious conversation with Kirby Smart? That's the AD up there. At what point does he have to start having a conversation with him? So I laugh because I think it's funny. Not the situation you're in, but the suggestion that is entailed in an email like this. So let's just talk this through, shall we? Let's just speak this out loud together. And here's the second and final preface. This is not directed at all Georgia fans. However, if you do find yourself in the class of folks who really believe that it's time to start thinking about at least having a serious conversation with Kirby, translation, you better tell him, you lose again, gonna have to do something. Yeah, that's the crowd I want to talk to. So I get an email. And it says, maybe it's time to have a conversation with Kirby Smart. I want to have a conversation with you if you think it's time to have a conversation with Kirby Smart about his job status. Kirby Smart, according to Wikipedia, 45 years old. Nick Saban, when he got to Alabama, take a guess at how old he was. He's 70 or 71 right now. He was 55 years old when he got to Alabama. That's a decade and a half ago. He, at that time, when he first got to Alabama, was 10 years older than Kirby is right now. What are we saying? To get down to the crux of things, what are we saying? Are we telling this guy right here, who's averaging like 10 and a half or 11 wins a year, are we telling him, because you can't beat the greatest of all time in your early to mid 40s, that's it? You know, we've seen you try enough times. We got to move on. We got to find someone else. Is that what we're really saying right now? I think even the most radical amongst us understands how insane that would be. That's the knock, though. That's the knock on Kirby Smart. He can't beat the greatest of all time. Hey, newsflash, look in the SEC West. The entire thing's in turmoil. Look at the SEC over the past 15 years. The entire thing's been turned upside down. There have been coaching changes everywhere. No one can beat him being Nick Saban. No one can do it. Gus Malzahn did it about as good as anyone, and even he got fired. Even he's not in the conference anymore. And so then you get all the usual criticisms. Well, Josh, he needs to adjust offensively. He did. He hired Todd Monken, a couple of years in now as offensive coordinator. Well, but Josh, he hasn't adjusted his offensive approach. Where's our good quarterbacks? Well, he went and got JT Daniels. He's been hurt. Well, yeah, but where's his five-star quarterbacks from high school? We got Brock Vandagriff last cycle. He's a true freshman. Okay, but we need more speed at receiver. You got Arian Smith, probably the fastest skill guy in the country in the last recruiting cycle. He's out. He's injured right now. That's just the way it is sometimes. There are a lot of criticisms that have been lobbed Kirby Smart's way. Some of them have layers of validity to them. But when you come down to an honest evaluation of anything, it's not just an A or an F. Imagine if that's the way you got handled in school. You either get an A or you get an F. Well, I'm not here. Chances are you're probably not here. You have layers of evaluation just like you have layers of any kind of evaluation in any walk of life. So should you be happy that you lost against Alabama? Heck no. You should be enraged by it. I'm from Georgia. I know how you guys feel. And you're justified in that feeling. But understand how to, this is hard to do, temporarily just move the emotion over to the side of the table and understand how we're supposed to evaluate anything here. Kirby Smart is doing a lot of really good things at Georgia. If I were to ask you, what if he never beats Saban? Saban coaches another 5 years, let's say. What if Kirby Smart never beats Nick Saban? Let's say he goes up against him 3 more times. The dude ends up 0-7 against Nick Saban. If Saban retires in 5 years, Kirby Smart will be 50 years old. You'll have a program that has recruited at an elite level for over a decade at that point. And Kirby will be 5 years younger than Saban was when he got to Alabama, and Kirby will then be in a Sabanless SEC and a post-Saban college football, a PS CFB, if you will. Where will Georgia football be? Answer, probably positioned as good as anyone to dominate over the next 10 or 15 years in their own right. Do I think he's going to go 0 against Nick Saban? No, I think the simple law of mathematics says eventually he'll get 1 or 2. But even if he doesn't, I don't think folks fully understand what the situation is here. Nick Saban, again, if you're just tuning in, 55 when he got to Alabama. Kirby's 10 years younger than that right now. So Nick Saban has screwed the sport up for everyone else. Everyone, including the playoff expansionists out there, are trying to adjust everything about themselves because of one guy. If I did nothing else in this sport but just took that one guy out of it, think about how many more would still have a job out there right now. And think about how much lower the volume would be on a lot of the playoff expansion talk. Because keep in mind, this really all started in earnest when you got the rematch in 2011, and then you've had Alabama in the conversation, and that's really been the mainstay. If you look around, everyone talks about how it's the same teams. No, it's not. It's the same team that's normally there, with the exception of, I think, one season. Clemson's been there, but they've also not been there. Ohio State's been there, but they've also not been there. And in Kirby Smart's case, dude's beaten everyone else. There's one guy. If I were to just remove that one guy, wow, how different this sport would be. Now, it is my personal and humble opinion that we shouldn't take the sport and look at it as broken, or look at a coach and say he's broken and turn everything about every entity in the sport upside down just because of the impact one other entity is having, especially when it's a head coach who I think we all largely agree at this point is the greatest of all time. That's my feel on Kirby Smart right now. I don't know what they're going to do. Look, they could be, for all I know, en route to winning a national title this year. They may rematch against Alabama, and they may win. Hey, by the way, you think some folks are freaked out right now. How much is it going to freak you out when those teams face off again and Georgia's still favored? Because that's going to happen. I don't know why. I'm not chewing gum. I don't know why I did that. Georgia, asked some folks before we went on air today, probably about a 1.5 point favorite, so a lot closer to 0, which is a huge adjustment, by the way, from the 6.5 points that they were favored by over Alabama. Point being, I think that if you do see that rematch again, I think you'll be fascinated at what the odds maker's opinion is versus what the mass public opinion will be. So let's just give Kirby Smart a little more rope. That's all I'm asking for. I am a well-documented Georgia hater, according to certain YouTube commenters, but I am begging with you, let's give Kirby a little more rope. Think he's doing okay. Don't think it's time to, as someone so eloquently put it, pull the plug on Kirby Smart quite yet. Don't think it's time.